So before I get started with this podcast, I just want to throw out there a little disclaimer so I don't have people yelling at me in an angry way. So basically, this podcast reflects the personal views, insights, and opinions of Peter Gallinari and is not affiliated with or representative of any past or present employers, organizations, agencies, clients, or partners. The discussions are based on more than 5 decades of professional experience in technology, data privacy, cybersecurity, governance, and independent industry research. The purpose of this podcast is educational, informational, and thought leadership discussion. Hey there, PGallinari here. Rockin Data Privacy. The truth about your data. Recently I just released a book called Rockin Data Privacy, The Truth About Your Data. And I think it's really time now to speak about that, what might be going on behind the scenes. I'm going to go ahead and speak about the stuff that I've been around for well over 52 years now, in silos of cybersecurity technology, governance, privacy, in healthcare divisions, financial services, and the public sector. So 38 years out there in the private sector and about 13 years in the public sector. Yes, two completely different worlds out there when it comes to both cybersecurity and data privacy. Everybody has their own crown jewels that they need to protect. You would think that happens the same way throughout all organizations, but that's not so. So I'm going to start off with a little introduction that I actually wrote and put together here because I don't want to go off the rails and just keep on rambling on about things. And then I have what I'm going to speak about, a manuscript that I will upload. So you'll be able to see and read back exactly what I'm talking about here. This Brooklyn boy sometimes doesn't speak English too well. So a lot of my Brooklyn E's comes out. But this way you'll be able to have exactly what I'm talking about here right in front of you, and you can read through it and you can even comment to it if you like. So let me kick it off here. Everyone is talking about AI. We know that, right? This is not new news. But few are willing to talk honestly about the condition of the data environment AI is actually inheriting. What is it sitting on top of? Organizations are racing to put in Copilot, agentic AI agents, autonomous workflows, intelligent automation. But here's the uncomfortable question many leaders still avoid. Do you truly know where all your sensitive data resides today before you start putting AI on top of that environment? Not theoretically, not from a policy document, not from a spreadsheet. It's deploying AI on top of environments they still do not fully understand. This article is not anti-AI, like I just said before. I mean, I think AI is going to be great. It just has to be controlled. It is a challenge for organizations to have a more honest conversation about foundational governance, data visibility, data ownership, operational accountability, runtime governance assumptions, and the growing illusion of operational maturity. Because runtime governance cannot fully compensate for immature foundational governance. And AI inherits the environment exactly as it exists today. So I'm going to go into my talk here, and this is the manuscript that I'll be sending out also, so you can get a visual of it. And in case I skip over something that I shouldn't be skipping over. But let's go through this now. So it's actually titled The Truth About Your Data, AI Built on Quicksand. Like building a house, guys, right? You don't put the pillars up and the roof up and you're not sitting on a foundation. You're sitting on quicksand. So what's going to happen? It's going to sink eventually. Organizations everywhere are racing toward AI. Boards are demanding it. Executives are announcing it. Vendors are selling it. Employees are already adopting it. Investors are rewarding it. AI, Copilot, agentic AI, automation workflows, intelligent automation. It has become the modern business pressure wave. And yet, beneath all the excitement, I believe there's a dangerous operational reality many organizations still refuse to fully understand or acknowledge. A large percentage of organizations are building AI on top of foundational environments that they do not truly understand. In many cases, AI is being layered on top of operational quicksand. And do they really know their own data environment? Not completely, not continuously, not operationally. And the larger the organization becomes, the harder this problem gets. That's just common sense. Yes, if your organization has 2, 3, or 4, or 5 servers, yeah, I'm sure that you can lock down things pretty well. But once you get to medium and large size systems, that's not happening manually. Sensitive data spreads everywhere. Test environments. Yes, it's on test environments. And I'll talk to anybody about that, any CIO about that. Unless they've ran discovery across their whole environment to see where all the data sits, they don't even know what's in their test environments. Sorry, they don't know where it is. SharePoint. Don't tell me you don't have employees that are using SharePoint today and burying documents within SharePoint that have sensitive data, unless you're running discovery tools to capture that. Teams, OneDrive, file shares, email, backups, cloud repositories. Doesn't end, right? Third-party platforms. I'm not even going to get into third-party here. That's a separate talk all by itself. Legacy systems, forgotten applications. Meanwhile, many executives are far removed from the operational realities of where data actually resides. Sure, CEOs are not in the pits. They're not there. They hire all us good people and they rely on us, and us meaning I'm a privacy officer, I was a security officer, I was a CISO, compliance. They're relying on people like myself and their CIOs and their CTOs to do the right thing and inform the CEO where things are just maybe totally screwed. You got to be honest. Let's see. Meanwhile, many executives are far removed, as I just said, from the operational realities of where data actually resides. Who do they rely on? I just mentioned a few because I was in those silos, but your IT teams, your governance teams, your privacy officers, security leaders, architects, vendors, consultants. But here is another uncomfortable truth. Many organizations barely invest in real data governance over the past decade. In some environments, governance teams are understaffed, fragmented, underfunded, or barely operational at all. And this has been a beef of mine. Yeah, okay, 50-something years in the business. It just doesn't mean I'm old, which I am. But I've been around this a long time and seen the same problem. And I've screamed about this for over 20 years, about data governance. But it's been ignored, it's been pushed aside, and look what happened now. Look what's happening now. You're going to put stuff on your environment with even not understanding your data governance at all. And it starts with information governance first, not data governance. Information governance, then it comes down to data governance, then data management, and then that includes your data privacy, your compliance, your legal teams, your vendors, and privacy and security, right? So in many organizations, the foundational disciplines were never fully matured. Data discovery, which is the biggest. Classification, ownership, lineage, retention, access, validation, another big joke. I'm sure that you know everybody on your SharePoint that has access to what files and are they allowed to see those files. Okay, that would be great if you can do that. If you have done it, I'd give you kudos on that. Operational accountability. At the same time, Another dangerous misconception quietly developed. Some IT organizations began acting as though IT owns data. No, IT does not own data. And I'm sure that there are going to be CIOs out there, because I've already met a few that say, yes, we own the data. Why in the world, as a CIO, would you ever take on that responsibility of owning data? You're going to see my bio out there anyway, so I don't usually discuss where I came from or whatever, who I work for. But just companies like GE, we had 24 divisions, and within those 24 divisions, there were hundreds and hundreds of other subdivisions, and there is no way a CIO is going to understand every single one of those divisions of their internal data and how that data is supposed to be accessed, how it's supposed to be classified, how it's supposed to be discovered. But they turn around and say, yes, we own the data. If you own the data and there's a compromise and it was due to bad classification, you're going to take ownership of that. I don't think you want to label yourself as the owner. What IT does is manages infrastructure, enables systems. Yes, your SLAs, you want to have your 3.9.9, and that's not going to happen, but you're going to have your 3.9.3 or 4, which is great, right? In certain instances, and maybe even lower, it might be 2 nines and a 4. So, I mean, with that said, you're being relied on for uptime and keeping your systems running. So when you hit enter, you got a response back as quick as you can get a response back. And that's all the end user is looking for. But the business owns the data. The business owns the data. I don't know how many times I have to repeat this, right? The business owns accountability of that data, the classification decisions, the usage decisions, the risk acceptance. So if they want certain people to have that data, and even in your mind, you say, why would you want to give that data out to that group? They don't really need it, but you're not the data owner. Well, if they're willing to take the risk, the final sign-off is that you get that sign-off from the business, that they're accepting the risk if there was leakage of this data, because they did not want to follow maybe advice of an IT person, right? That's all you could do. Let's see where else. Oh, the governance and responsibility of the data. Governance is how it's going to be used, how it's going to be maintained, all that good stuff. When ownership becomes blurred, accountability becomes fragmented. And when accountability becomes fragmented, governance weakens. Now add AI into that environment, right? Just think about, this is not, I never went to college, all right? No, I went to high school. I started work at 17, working on Wall Street at, I think it was Merrill Lynch, if I'm not mistaken, my first job. This is common sense. This is nothing to do with intelligence. This has to do with just straight common sense of doing the right thing. Suddenly, organizations are introducing systems capable of rapid correlation, autonomous workflows, intelligent searches, large-scale analysis, automated decision support, data aggregation, cross-system reasoning, or your agentic AI. What do you think it's doing out there? It can move stuff across your systems, right? If your systems are wrong, then that's going to be wrong. And yet the pressure continues. What do you hear the words? Oh, we need AI now. We need modernization now. We need Copilot. We need AI agents. We need transformation. But transformation without foundational maturity creates risk acceleration. Customers, patience. Patience, remember that. Healthcare, how much you're going to use our AI. Citizens and employers assume organizations are responsibly governing their data because they all think, as a leader in your organization, you're doing the right thing. If you've ever seen any one of my presentations, the last words I say is that people are expecting you to do the right thing. But are they really? Would organizations honestly admit, right, that they do not fully know where all the sensitive data resides? Permissions have drifted for years. classifications are incomplete, ownership is inconsistent, third-party exposure is only partially understood, shadow repositories exist outside formal governance. Many organizations still believe this can be solved manually. The answer is no, not going to happen. 1 server, 2 servers, 5 servers, maybe, but no, not at an enterprise scale, not across modern hybrid environments, not across cloud ecosystems, not across decades of accumulated operational complexity. And you're just a shadow IT. And that, I was a mainframe person my first 20 years of my career. And yeah, I loved it. Easy. DR was easy. Knowing where all your data was easy. All in one spot. But then we went to distributed systems. You started with the AS400s and then you had all your distributed systems all over the place, even within one organization, just all over the place, decentralized. So no, not that easy manually doing any of this. That is why functional governance matters. And this is where many current AI governance conversations become incomplete. Today, the industry is heavily focused on runtime governance, policy as code, runtime controls, again, a big beef of mine, observability, AI enforcement layers, autonomous governance, operational monitoring. Directionally, that evolution is important. But runtime governance still assumes something critical, that the underlying environment is already trustworthy. Classification is accurate. The metadata is reliable. Ownership is known. Permissions are valid. Discovery is complete. Governance maturity exists. But what if assumptions themselves are flawed? Then organizations risk operationalizing uncertainty at machine speed. Why do you love AI? It not only produces all the good stuff for you really fast, but it moves the bad stuff maybe even faster. Runtime governance cannot fully compensate for immature foundational governance. AI governance without foundational governance eventually becomes operational illusion. And in my book, Truth About Your Data, I talk about data illusions. This is not an anti-AI message at all, please. AI is real. AI is transformative. AI will absolutely reshape industries. But organizations must stop pretending that foundational governance does not matter simply because AI pressure has accelerated. Because AI inherits the environment exactly as it exists today. This is what I've been speaking about for the past 19 minutes and 40 seconds, whatever it is. It will inherit everything that's wrong and make it look that it's right on the output side. That's why another thing I didn't talk about is human in the loop. Please look at your data as soon as it comes out of AI to make sure that's correct. You have to do that, especially if you're in healthcare. But organizations must stop pretending that foundational governance does not matter simply because AI pressure has accelerated, because AI inherits the environment exactly as it exists today. And if the foundation is unstable, AI does not remove the instability. It amplifies it. That is the truth about your data. So, let me sign off here. I'm going to just edit some of this because I was all over the place on some things. But a lot I'm probably going to keep in because I really don't edit what I say in the sense of, if I'm repeating myself or something. But I will upload this manuscript of the article and you could read it basically from there, maybe a little bit clearer than what I'm discussing here. And also, you have this as some other commentary that I spoke about that's not in the manuscript, because I use some of my lines here to go off a little bit and speak about those in more detail. So it was great chatting. Took up about 20 minutes of your time. And I'm now promoting the book for a ton of money because there's really no money in it. I actually wrote the book because I wanted to write the truth about data. And I think everybody should start thinking about this. And I do want to put out there, as a little disclaimer here, that I'm sure there are organizations out there that are doing a lot of what I just spoke about. And I give kudos to them who have made the investments, the time, the people, and the understanding of how important data is. So for those who are doing this work, and what do I mean by work, is there are a lot of great people out there and a lot of great organizations that are doing work today to try to fix or minimize the level of risk of all those things I just stated out there. And they are trying to do the right thing. It's just that I'm sure that it's limited to organizations that have the funding, capability, the skill sets to invest in this, to fix these problems. The problems are there. They're real. If they want to admit it or not, they're out there. So with that said, I want to definitely raise a hand and some give you some high fives on that great work and initiatives. And, we know everybody out there is not doing bad things. And if they're doing bad things, a lot of times it's not even something to even realize they're doing, right? So still, again, high fives for those who have seen the problem, recognized the problem, and are trying to fix that, because it matters to everyone. Public, private sector, it doesn't matter. If you're in the private sector, customers will love you. And especially in the public sector, in the government world, people are expecting you to do the right thing with their data, right? So there's a lot at stake here for everyone. It's you, your families, it's all our data. So lots of luck on your ventures going forward. And I hope to meet up with some of you out there sooner or later. Take care. Bye-bye.